Hello, everyone. I'm Brian Reynolds, the Chancellor with the Archdiocese of Louisville, and welcome to our podcast series, What's New in ArchLou. This show highlights every month the people and the ministries of the Archdiocese, the Catholic Church in Central Kentucky. Join us each month as we welcome guests to discuss what's new happening, events, and experiences of the faithful in this Archdiocese. Our hope is to invite you to get more involved and deepen your own engagement in your Catholic faith. This program is brought to you by the ArchLou Podcast Network. We are so happy to welcome back our Archbishop Shelton Fabre. We're celebrating his first year anniversary. He was installed, as we move into April, he was installed on the 30th of March last year. So he's just completed a whole year. Congratulations on your first anniversary.
Thank you. It's something I relish and something I welcome. I know that this is what's new in ArchLou. Having been here a year now, I don't know if I'm still new or not, but nonetheless, right. I delight. It brings me great joy to be here serving the wonderful people of the Archdiocese, and look forward to all that God will do through us in the future.
Very good. I'm sure people have heard your background. I won't do a lot of it. Just remind our viewers that Archbishop Shelton is a native of New Roads, Louisiana, born in 1963, the fifth of 6 children. He was ordained to the priesthood for the Diocese of Baton Rouge in 1989. Pope Benedict appointed him auxiliary bishop of the Archdiocese of New Orleans in 2006. He was ordained a bishop in February of 2007, and then Pope Francis appointed him to be the bishop of Diocese of Houma-Thibodaux in 2013. And then we got him to come here. And you're right, no more newness. This is April. April starts your second year now. So,
correct.
It's been a busy year, and I appreciate your words already. But maybe could you share just some observations? I know it must be strange. You've served in 4 different dioceses, but you come in here in Kentucky, up north from your Louisiana roots.
Correct.
Observations about this place and this Archdiocese church?
Well, first and foremost, I might begin with that which I noticed the most, which is it is a very beautiful terrain. I've always loved mountains. Not that these are mountains, but they're hills. They're
right.
It's certainly different from the topography of Louisiana. I've always found God in the hills or in the mountains. People find him at the beach or wherever. For me, that has been in the hills. So that is something that I really noticed and enjoyed driving around the counties of the Archdiocese, noticing the different terrain and really very much appreciating the hills. So I have noticed that. I have noticed that, there are different, really, aspects to the Archdiocese. There are many, many Catholics in the city of Louisville, but as you go out to other counties, the number of Catholics is not as great as in Louisville, but the faith is strong in Louisville. The faith is strong in the rural areas. So I appreciate that, and I noticed that. I have found the people all to be very, very welcoming. I have found that they recognize that together we are on this journey that Christ has called us to. I think all of us together, from what I have seen, people are trying to the best of their ability to authentically serve as a disciple of Jesus Christ, which is really a challenge today for so many reasons. So I have seen, the goodness of people. The distances have been something that I'm not used to. The Diocese of Houma-Thibodaux was only 2 counties.
Right.
So the distances were not as great, but even driving those distances gives me time to reflect and to think and to pray. So I've even come to appreciate, the driving time that has increased a lot for me. So those are, some of the things, having come to know the wonderful priests and deacons and religious and seminarians here, again, all really heroically, I think, serving the Lord or discerning priesthood, trying to assist people in their faith today, to provide the sacraments to people, to preach the word, all of those things that I have noticed and I deeply appreciate.
That particular marker you have that said that the population is so different throughout our 24 counties. You know, we always know that Louisville, they argue percentages close to 20% Catholic in some data, but then you get down to Clinton County with 0.5% or 1%, just
Correct.
a tiny little group. So it's a very different reality. That's a good thing to pick up, but also to remind our viewers that we're a pretty diverse church, even.
Very much so. I think very diverse here in the Archdiocese of Louisville. You know, culturally, racially diverse. Just as far as the population and distribution of Catholics, and though down in it's called the Kentucky Missions. You know, their numbers may not be great, but their faith is very, very big, and they serve the Lord very, very well, as does the Catholics in Louisville.
They didn't miss that you made an early visit to Albany and Burkesville down in the Clinton County area down south. That's very good that you saw everybody. Okay.
Yeah, and I'm doing my best. I have not yet made it to all of the parishes. I've made it to a lot of them. I have not yet made it to all of them, but it is my intention as soon as possible to get to all the parishes that I've not yet had the pleasure of visiting or celebrating confirmation or celebrating a Sunday Eucharist. So they're still on my mind and my heart, and I want them to know, be they in Louisville or in another part of the Archdiocese, I have not forgotten you, and I'm trying to get there as soon as I can.
For our viewers' sake, remember we have 110 different parish communities. It's hard to get to 110 in one year, but you've done a very good job. Halfway through, I remember when you hit about 60 or 70, so you've done a really fine job there. You know, one of the things I know that a priority for you has been, because I get to see some of your calendar, is spending time with our priests. I know you've done one-on-one meetings, you've had lunch gatherings and events and confirmations and so forth. What would you like to tell priests of the Archdiocese, and perhaps even to seminarians, as we think about the role of priests in our local church?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that I would want the priest to know of my great appreciation for their ministry. I want them to know, as I have said in so many ways, that we really are in this together. I know that they are stretched thin, many of them serving more than one parish, some of them more than two parishes, serving multiple parishes, and I know that is a great pastoral challenge today, but they do to the best of their ability attempt to meet the sacramental needs of people, certainly, but also the spiritual needs, and to take care of parish administration as well. So just to let the priests know, I'm deeply, deeply grateful for all that they do. I see their ministry. I probably do not express gratitude to them enough, but I am deeply grateful. The permanent deacons, the same, the many ways in which they minister to people entrusted to their care as well. I'm grateful for them, to the men and women religious who give so generously of their time to the church and are fulfilling their charisms, whatever it is, education or whatever. I see that. I'm grateful for that. And to the seminarians and anyone who may be discerning a call to consecrated religious life, just to express to them, I'm so grateful that they have heard the call of the Lord and are discerning that. And for those who have gone to the seminary or entered formation, thank you. As I tell our seminarians, don't put too much pressure on yourself, because to go to the seminary means you're thinking about priesthood, and you put yourself in the presence of those who can help you to discern that. And you might discern it's not for you. So, just because you go to the seminary, don't put so much pressure on yourself that you're definitely going to be ordained. It just means, this is something that I want to give more serious attention to, and I'm going to place myself in the presence of those who can help me to discern. So I'm grateful for all of our seminarians, all of those contemplating consecrated religious life. And as I say at the end of each celebration of confirmation, I ask the young people, the newly confirmed, to please ask themselves if God is calling them to priesthood or to consecrated religious life. Because certainly one of our challenges in the Archdiocese is certainly to promote vocations, particularly vocations to the priesthood, but also vocations to consecrated religious life, vocations to the permanent diaconate. So I'm grateful for our seminarians as well.
in your first year, you got to ordain a first priest, and you got to ordain 5 transitional deacons too. So those are good numbers for a first year.
It is. It's a great, great joy. If only we were doing that and more every year.
That's right.
But we're grateful for those deacons and for that priest. And hopefully, as I said, our efforts will yield more workers for the vineyard, particularly in the area of priestly vocations.
Very good. Archbishop, I know that one of the roles of a bishop where many people first encounter you is confirmation. And I know that I've heard you say to several groups, you like confirmations, and some say, oh, but there must be so many of them for him to do. Can you talk about your experience of confirmation, please?
Yeah, there are a lot of confirmations that I do, and I do really enjoy confirmations because, number one, I really enjoy encountering the young people. I do spend 30 minutes before the celebration. 30 minutes are set aside for me to spend with them, just to talk to them about the sacrament, kind of to just personalize it a little bit. I think a lot of them are very, very nervous, and I think it removes some of the edge to let them know, we are here to pray, and I'm going to help you. There's no reason for you to be nervous. Just open yourself to what God is presenting you. This tremendous gift that God is giving you. Confirmations gives me the opportunity, as I said, to get out to many of the parishes, to encounter our young people, to encounter parishioners and members of the faithful. They're the famous confirmation pictures, which I don't mind at all. When I'm able to stay, I stay as long as I can to take as many pictures. It's my honor and my privilege to take a picture with them. But also, also about the very heart of the sacrament is the bestowal of the Holy Spirit, the gift of the Holy Spirit that God imparts to those young people who really, in that celebration, literally stand up and say, this is what I believe, and this is how I will live my life. And in response to that faith declaration, God gifts them with the Holy Spirit. As you say, there are a lot of confirmations, and I do as many of them as I can myself, because I do think that our young people would like to see the bishop there for confirmation, but the important thing is that they be confirmed. Unfortunately, with so many and only one bishop, there are times where I have to delegate it to a priest, which the church allows, and I really don't do that lightly, and I feel bad when that has to happen. But the more important thing, is that young people are confirmed. So if I did not get to a confirmation, or in the future do not get to a confirmation, please know of my great apology, and it's not something that I do lightly, because, as I said, I enjoy confirmations, and number two, I enjoy encountering the young people, and thirdly, the sacrament does envision the bishop being present, but the bishop does not have to be there. With delegation, a priest can confer the sacrament, and the important thing is that the young people receive the power of the Holy Spirit.
And Archbishop, you describe it with such positive words and energy. The priests often talk about the warmth you bring to it. So just on behalf of the young church of the Archdiocese, thank you, because that encounter, as you named it, is such an important marker for young people.
Yeah. It is, however, exhausting.
Yes.
I think there are weeks where I have confirmation every single night, and particularly if I go down to the southern part of the diocese, I lose an hour coming back home because of the time change. So that is something else that, is unique and very interesting about this diocese, the fact that parts of it are in a different time zone. But I do try to encounter the young people, and I do. I try to bring a deacon MC with me, because I think that pastors should just be present to the moment and not running around trying to be certain that this is done or that is done. I like the pastors to also just be present to what's happening to these members of their faith community. So I do try to bring an MC so that the pastor can enjoy the celebration as well.
Very good. Now, you've also visited many of our schools, high schools and elementary schools alike. And you know, and you've commented on it, the school ministry is obviously an important aspect of this local diocese. It's a priority for lots of our churches and our families. What's your observations about our Catholic schools?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think we have to remember Catholic education is a very important ministry, and I think in the Archdiocese, and probably in many dioceses, it is probably the largest ministry that we engage in, the ministry of Catholic education and the ministry of catechesis to young people, also in our parish schools of religion. But I do believe in Catholic education. I think that the Catholic schools here in the Archdiocese of Louisville are excellent schools. I think that they really address questions of Catholic identity, which is why Catholic schools exist.
Right.
I think, as in anything, they're always getting better. I think that they are very good, but in all things we can always be better. And I know that they do address that with also academic excellence and really educating the whole child, mind, body, and spirit. I also know that Catholic education comes about in this diocese and in other dioceses due to the sacrifice of many, the sacrifice of school teachers, administrators, staff, all who make Catholic education possible. In so many ways they sacrifice, and the sacrifice of others who, even though they may not have a child in Catholic schools, believe in the ministry of Catholic education and also sacrifice to make it come about. I'm grateful, as I have said before, for the Catholic Education Foundation here in the Archdiocese, which provides tuition assistance for students to come to our Catholic schools. So I'm very grateful and very impressed at Catholic education in this Archdiocese. As I said, I think they do very, very well. They're always seeking to improve as they should be, and I'm grateful to all who make Catholic education possible.
Yeah, I know parents sacrifice themselves, but they want it so badly for their children, and so lots of hands make that work important and helpful go forward. Archbishop, one of the things you've had the opportunity to do in this short amount of time is, I know you've had 2 international trips for just brief periods. You had a trip to Vietnam and a trip to Rome. Can you give us just an inkling about those 2 things?
Yes, I went to Vietnam to visit with the family and friends of the Vietnamese priests who have come here to the Archdiocese, and it was a joy to be with them, with the priests and seminarians, their family members and friends, to encounter the church in Vietnam, to also meet with the Archbishop of Vinh, with whom right now we have a formal agreement to mission 2 seminarians to the Archdiocese of Louisville every couple of years, and to sit down and talk to the 2 seminarians that was being presented to as a possibility, to be certain that they felt called to this by God and something that they wanted to do. And so we will soon be welcoming 2 more seminarians. So it was very good to meet with Bishop Alphonse Nguyen, and I'm grateful for that agreement that we have. But also, as I said, just to encounter the church in Vietnam, which is really a wonderful, wonderful part of the Universal Church of God, to see a very beautiful country. And as I said, but the highlight of my trip was visiting the homes of the parents and family members of our Vietnamese priests and seminarians, and talking through Father Kien, who went with me, translated for me very kindly, so to engage in conversation with them, to assure them of our great gratitude for their sons and brothers and uncles and cousins who are here serving, to let them know that we are deeply grateful, because they are sacrificing too, a child who is so far away, and to acknowledge their sacrifice and to thank them for that sacrifice. So trip to Vietnam was was very, very good and really enlightening about a part of the church in Asia. I had never been to Asia, so it was the first time that I visited. Recently, I went to Rome. That was a wonderful trip. During that trip, I was able to greet our Holy Father, Pope Francis, and as I said, gave him the prayerful support of the people of the Archdiocese of Louisville, and the Pope sent his apostolic blessing upon all of the faithful here in the Archdiocese of Louisville. So it was really a great grace and a privilege to greet him and to encounter the students at the Pontifical North American College, to install acolytes there, and to give the students there a presentation on preaching on racism, and to engage with them on that topic, which they welcomed and entered into discussion about. So I'm grateful for that. So both of those trips were wonderful and very, very enjoyable, and I'm thankful that I got to make them.
Yeah, very good. Okay, on a little bit less serious note, though important, you got to attend the Priest Variety Show.
Yes,
now,
right.
And near the end of the show, you were named a Kentucky Colonel. And lots of us wondered, what do your relatives and friends back in Louisiana think of you being named a Kentucky Colonel? So, any thoughts on that show or that event?
Yes, well, it was a great, great honor. I was surprised that it was presented to me. I must admit, it's not something that I was aware of. But afterwards, the declaration signed by Governor Andy Beshear, making me a Kentucky Colonel, people came up to me and said, Archbishop, that is a great, great honor and distinction. And so I shared that with my family members and friends, and lightheartedly, someone said, "Do you get any chicken because you're a Kentucky Colonel?" And I said, "Well, no, I don't think it has anything to do with that." But it's something that I'm grateful for. I'm honored, and the Priest Variety Show was wonderful. It showed a different side to our priests, and I'm hoping that it really more humanize the priest, particularly for those young men who may be thinking about being a priest. That you bring all that you have, your gifts. Father Mike Tobin sang. There was Chuck Walker and his band, and all kinds of other things that are part of the lives of priests that people don't very often see. Yeah. But you bring who you are to priesthood. So I think it showed a different side of our priests. But yes, I was named a Kentucky Colonel during that variety show, and I'm very, very grateful for that.
Terrific. I'm with you enough that I watch when people come up to you and they love asking you many different questions, but one of the questions that shows up all the time is about food. They want to know, did you find Cajun food? They want to know, do you eat Kentucky barbecue? And they want to know what you did for Mardi Gras. So before we wrap up our show in a few minutes, tell us about eating in Kentucky and Mardi Gras.
Well, this was my my first Mardi Gras here in Kentucky, and I was privileged to attend the Roulette of Catholic Charities, which is their chief fundraiser, which helps Catholic Charities to undertake all of the good work that they do. It was a different Mardi Gras. I kept thinking that weekend all the way into Ash Wednesday, if I were in Louisiana, I would have 4 days off because the whole state closes. It's not a federal holiday in Louisiana, but it is a state holiday, and the schools and everything close. And I said, well, come Derby time, I will get those days back when Kentucky closes down for the Kentucky Derby. But so Mardi Gras was a great celebration. As to the food, I have not yet found what I would consider outstanding Cajun food. I have found some good Cajun food here, which I think is noteworthy and excellent. So, but if I feel like anything Cajun, I usually cook it myself.
Okay.
My family sends me care packages with andouille and all kinds of things that I need to make a gumbo or whatever, a jambalaya or anything like that. So I tend to just stay home and cook it myself. But I have encountered, wonderful food. I have not gone hungry, to say the least, here in Kentucky and all of the places that I have been. And the chicken has been fried chicken has been noteworthy, and I appreciate that. But I have not suffered for a lack of any food. As I said, I think the Cajun food is good, but I'm certainly no worse for the wear with regard to food.
Very good. Archbishop, at the end of the show here, we're going to play a message that you're taping for Easter. This is April now. Holy Week is here. The Sacred Triduum. You'll have your Easter message in a moment, but it's a sacred season for us. Any thoughts on that you can share even in this context?
Mm-hmm. Yes, well, very soon we will be embarking upon the holiest days in the Church's year during the week that we call Holy Week, and Holy Thursday, Good Friday, Easter Saturday, Holy Saturday, Easter Sunday. All of those days are days where we are called to, in a very prayerful and intentional way, walk with the Lord. And I would simply invite people to, this year, if you haven't done it before, or even if you have done it before, to really set out to make those days unique and special in some way. To pray or to do some activity or something that places before you the love of Jesus Christ, as we see in his passion, death, and resurrection. Those days should not just be normal days for us. There should be something unique about them. I remember as a child, Good Friday, my grandmother, and it was was a Louisiana tradition, I don't know, she covered all the mirrors because Good Friday was not a day for vanity. You shouldn't be concerned what your hair looks like or your makeup or anything like that. So she covered all the mirrors in the house, and many people did that, Good Friday, it's a day when the Lord died, we should not be vain. And it was just little things like that.
Yeah.
That remind you that these days are special and I should be thinking about something else. So I would encourage families to, consider some of those small traditions, like I remember my grandmother covering those mirrors on Good Friday, or do things like that to lift up that these days should be different somehow, and to teach our children why they are different and how we as people of faith can mark those days through prayer or through some kind of activity that puts us in touch with the love that Jesus Christ has for us.
That's terrific. Very meaningful. Archbishop, it's been an exciting year, I know, for you and for this whole local church. I want to express my own personal gratitude for the way in which you've listened to us, learned about us, but also taught us already and supported the work that we do in service to this church together as your colleagues. I speak for all of my colleagues in ministry. We congratulate you on year one done, and for many blessed years ahead, please God.
Yes, well, thank you. I thank you, Brian, and I thank all of the Archdiocesan staff who have helped me throughout this year. But I want to especially thank our priests and deacons and seminarians and consecrated religious, and most importantly, the people of God who have so welcomed me and prayed with me and for me. I know that we have more work to do in many, many areas. I do not deny that. But with God's help, we will face the challenges, and we will journey together as the people Jesus calls us to be.
To our viewers and listeners, let's take a couple minutes now just to listen to the message of Easter from Archbishop Shelton.
My dear friends, as we now enter into Holy Week and enter into the Sacred Triduum and also the joy of Easter Sunday and the Easter season, I take this opportunity to invite you along with me to pause and to prayerfully walk the journey with the Lord as he fully enters into giving himself totally and completely to the Father and to us in the Eucharist, in his death on the cross, and then the power of his resurrection and the promises that affords to you and to me. These are sacred and holy days, and they should not be normal for us, but in some special way we should remember all that Christ did for us during these days. I take this opportunity to wish you all of the grace that God offers to those who mark these days with prayer and reflection, and I wish you all of the joy of Easter Sunday and the coming Easter season. Christ Jesus endured a lot for you and for me, and at the very heart of that is his love. In these holy days, may you profoundly encounter the love of Jesus Christ for you and respond to that love by the manner in which you live your life. Blessings of Holy Week and Happy Easter.
Thank you, Archbishop, for sharing that
Thank
great
you.
message. We appreciate that, and thank you for being here on our show. And happy First Derby next month in May. And all of our viewers, stay tuned next month for the next edition of What's New in ArchLou. Thanks for being with us.